And we're live. So, dinner.
Dinner
of goulash.
What do you guys? I mean, honestly, what do you think? Like,
Not bad. I really dig how the potatoes work with it too.
yeah, no, I prefer a bed of potatoes versus not having anything in there. Like,
Oh, 100%.
I've done butter noodles too. Those are nice, but I just felt potatoes would be a lot easier to do.
Reminds me of old rib sticking food. You know, like you think like cold winter's eve.
comfort food.
Well, I thought it was going to be cold today, and I was like, fuck it, I'm making goulash, and so it's like, okay, actually,
It was
I'm going to have to
surprisingly
edit that
warm.
because I'm not supposed to be cussing.
Somebody's fired.
You, after Eric gets a hold of you.
Probably.
So, we're getting ready to get started. This is the Renaissance Rascals. Today, we're actually going to be joined by two special guests. Our very own Prince Otto...
The Magnificent.
Of Germany.
Of Germany!
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of the whole day.
Right? That's but there's more than that, though. It's Otto...
His name is Otto-Henry Wittelsbach.
Yeah, I'm not fucking saying that.
Well, it's actually pretty... So Otto-Heinrich literally is Otto-Henry. So his name is
Oh.
Otto-Henry, but it's just the German version of those two.
Oh.
And his
Well, that
last name
makes
is
sense.
Wittelsbach.
Don't worry, we're recording, so I can always bleep myself.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, by the way, just to introduce myself, my name is Matthew Harvey. I work with Rob and Keith at
Oh, we're not there
Colorado
yet.
Fair.
You're jumping ahead.
All right.
Our second
Time
guest
warp.
is actually coming all the way from Arizona, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
The balmy 80-something degree weather out there.
Lucky.
Right.
Not right now.
No?
Oh,
What's your
really?
temp out there?
It is low 50s.
Low 50s.
Oh, so that's miserable.
Yeah.
Desert
So,
50s. is
Anyway,
the worst.
our Desert Rose is actually none other than one of our princesses. Actually, she plays two princesses, right?
Very true. One at the Santa Fe Renaissance Festival.
One at the Santa Fe Renaissance.
Also at ours.
Right.
In
But
Colorado.
you play Princess Zelda at Colorado. Or you
Sometimes.
You have.
I have, yes. But
Okay.
I've also played Princess Philippa of Sweden.
So we're actually going to be discussing.
And then, sorry to interrupt, but you actually play another royalty member, right? Don't you do the?
I play Mary, Queen of Scots,
Yeah.
at Highland Games all over the country.
So you're the one that I need to talk to about the Scottish eggs.
Scottish eggs did not actually come around until the early
no.
1800s.
That's it.
Buzzkill.
Okay, who's
Jeez.
vetting these guests?
She's
Apparently, no
canceled.
one.
We're done.
Yeah, that's it.
That
yeah.
hurt my soul. They're my favorite.
Not Renaissance foods.
Oh no, they are.
I don't
What
know.
about that is not Renaissance?
I
It's
don't
an
know if
egg
you-
covered in pork.
And breaded.
What part of that
The-
does not scream easy to make during the Renaissance?
I mean,
there's no tomatoes in
If
it.
you really want to get into it, neither is gyros or beans and rice, but they serve that.
Potatoes as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm not arguing that.
Actually, when did potatoes get introduced to Europe? I want to say pretty late.
I don't know.
Maybe 1600s?
I just know that they taste. good.
Walter Raleigh,
Oh,
a
the dude
favored
yeah.
gentleman of Elizabeth I, actually brought potatoes from
Carolina.
the New World. And he was like, yeah, you eat them raw. So the whole
Eat
court
them
was
raw?
eating potatoes raw and then getting sick from it. And nobody thought to blame him for this until they were like, and then everybody was fine eating them.
Now that is a great story.
I love it.
That is a
Walter
horrible-
Raleigh of North Carolina fame.
Raleigh, North Carolina. Makes
Yes.
sense. It makes total sense. So we're joined by these lovely guests today because you know what?
What?
We're talking about costumes
Ooh.
and weapons
Oh,
and violence.
Yeah.
there will be no violins in this episode.
No, there will be
Not one.
not a
Not
single
a one.
violin in this episode. But once again, thanks for tuning in. I'm Rob.
I am Keith.
We are the Renaissance Rascals, and we appreciate you guys in joining us here. We're on 3 different platforms. You can check us out on Facebook, YouTube, or even on Twitch.
Or Discord.
Or Discord, if I let you in.
Yes.
It's an
That's good.
exclusive invite, and our lovely guest has been invited ad hoc, but there's a reason why, and we're going to let her tell you in just a couple of seconds. So we're going to open it up, and first we've got to do some introductions here. Right now on the screen, and it's just him because Keith is back there hiding his face while he
just.
No, I pop in and out. So
No,
He's a ghost.
you're gonna hear my voice.
Oh.
You may not see me, but
You're
that's
doing-
fine.
you're doing
it's
right.
more important you see Matt here than
yes.
If I scooch over here, there's plenty of room for
Yeah,
you.
dude, just
What
sit
do
in
I
his-
smell?
Just sit in his lap.
me. I didn't want to
Come
be
here.
the first one to say it,
Santa Claus.
but
Let's
it
do
is helping me. It is helping me with my goulash.
You
I'm
just
having right now.
Just slide the goulash to the edge. Yes. I'm gonna go talk with my producer over here. Yeah, that's crazy. What?
And this is the beautiful thing about the Renaissance Rascals. We don't take anything serious. We're eloquently stupid. That's just how we do things. But Matt, please explain to our listeners a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself, if you would.
Hello, my name is Matthew Harvey. I have been doing costuming and Renaissance fairs for 7 years, 5 of which as an actor, but I used to make and work on costumes from before that. I'm also a Meyer Fry Fechter Guild fencing instructor, and I specialize in German longsword, Ringen, and a little bit of Dussek.
What was that second one?
Ringen, it's a German wrestle fighting, basically, like what you would consider like folk wrestling.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one?
Dussek, it's hard to describe. Think
You-
like a
you can't-
scimitar-style
Okay.
sword about yay
Yeah,
long.
use your words, because you just use like...
Yeah, just it's
gestures.
Just this sort of gesture-looking thing with
Yes.
a bit of this
Yeah.
hand
Oh, that
motion
thing.
over
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
and just a little bit of a that right there, whereas
Yeah,
it
yeah,
blinks
it's
in and out of
a little-
existence.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
a that.
So, you have you've been doing this for how long have you been at Colorado?
5 years at Colorado.
5 years at Colorado and Santa Fe.
Oh, Santa Fe. Oh, goodness, about 5 years as well.
Oh wow!
Now,
Yeah.
have you always been Prince Otto?
I have not. My first character. Oh God, you want to talk about the hardest bit of research I ever had to do?
Ooh!
Somebody comes up to me and they're like, "All right, we got your role." And I'm like, "Let's go." They're like, "You're a Prussian baron," and I'm like, "What?" They're like, a Prussian baron. I'm like, immediately, I'm like, "Where the heck is Prussia?" And then I had to look up, and I'm like, I don't know any historical Prussian barons. So I look it up. They're all from like the middle of the wars of reconquest between Austria and Prussia during like the 1800s. So I had to go into like ancient documentation of trade to find a single baron mentioned once on a birth certificate for his son. So the time period we were looking at was 1536, right?
Right.
And I have records of his son being baron about 30 years after that. So I was like, okay, so from the birth certificate I was able to find him, and then using like German archives I was able to track down more data on it, because the location where this guy was from, his name was Hans von Kalkstein, or literally Hans of Chalk was his name, Kalkstein. But he was a lord of Graventhien and Vogau, and you can actually go see his castle. The ruins of it are still there, and there's a von Kalkstein who still owns that land in what is now Kaliningrad, Russia. Because that's
Oh,
the
wow.
teeny tiny little exclave of Russia in Europe.
Dude,
It's right there. You can actually go and see it.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like vastly
I'm like
unprepared.
I'm like
you know? Yeah.
I'm
you
like
know?
rethinking my life
I mean,
choices
we were
right
just
now.
we were just talking about last week. We were talking about the character development and filling out that sheet and everything. But this dude comes in and he's like, "Boom! This is everything that I've done." And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. I used a name generator.
Right?
So our other guest that we are joined by voice over Discord. Please introduce yourself, young lady.
My name is Pandora Lynch. I've been performing at Ren Fairs. We're going on 6 years now, including Highland Games. I actually have a college certificate on historical costuming that I got when I was 15, I think. I got bored and just decided to start taking college classes.
Nerd.
Just for fun. But I perform at, we're going on 4 Ren Fairs now,
What?
and then Highland Games all over the country, all the way from Georgia to California.
Really?
And then what Ren fairs do you perform at? Obviously Colorado.
And
So
Santa Fe.
I do Colorado and Santa Fe with you guys.
Uh-huh.
I perform at Arizona, which is my home festival. So I perform all 9 weekends there. Brutal by the end of it, let me tell you. The
Oh,
heat,
yeah.
awful. There's a reason why it's in February and March. And then Matthew and I actually just got accepted to perform at the Texas Renaissance.
Oh,
Huzzah!
Congratulations!
Huzzah, my friends!
Thanks,
That's awesome.
thanks for leading out with that, Matthew.
Right?
I gotta tell you, it's great because we both have our IDs,
Yeah.
and the quality difference between the two is hilarious.
with Colorado being higher.
No. My Colorado one's worse significantly because they didn't tell me. So like
Is it the photo that's worse, or is
Yes.
it? Okay.
Okay.
the Colorado photo, they didn't tell me. They said like, yeah, just take the picture. It's gonna be like from your chest up. And so I'm like awkwardly holding my arms to the picture, and it's a full body one.
Oh, gosh.
So I just look like a psychopath standing. Oh, it's great.
If it makes you feel better, I do too.
I'm glad that we're in on that, but I will tell you, Pandora actually took this really professional, well-lit photo and submitted it, and I just like, I was like, oh, I need to shave, and started like,
cheating so-and-so.
I like desperately shave, and I'm like, my hair is just all wet, and I'm like, I don't have time, it's gonna time out, and so, because I didn't feel like filling out the form again,
Does it ever
uploaded
make you feel
that.
like slighted, because the women always seem to
They
look
al-
better.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what you want, though, right?
Absolutely.
No, I
Because
wanna
if
look
I
sexy
look
too.
like a buffoon, I'm approachable. Like I'd be like, yeah,
Prince Otto
moron.
is a buffoon.
Thank you. It's my
Yeah.
favorite
And
character.
now, you're doing Prince Otto at Texas? correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And Pandora, what is your role at Texas?
I will probably play Princess Philippa of Sweden again. Whether I decide to be married to said idiot Otto will
Huzzah!
Decide.
Okay, I don't.
I thought that's
I want to be
hilarious.
the first one to say that is a bad idea.
You're not
I,
wrong.
I already married him at Colorado.
I'm
There's no
just-
going back.
Yeah, there's. I'm just saying, there's other options.
Yes, there's many other options.
Have you ever considered Umbracinia?
I'm just saying.
I have not.
Maybe an older, wiser, more ruggedly handsome
in
gentleman.
Umbracinia, that
Yeah.
they raise their men to be men.
Men, yeah.
Definitely.
It's
And they
just
don't
something to
have
think
this
about
weird
before you get back to
accent.
Colorado. It's
Weird
fine.
accent, strange hat.
Yes.
10 out of 10.
Cod
10 out of
piece.
10.
Don't forget the cod piece.
The cod piece, that's for me. That's not for anybody else.
Yeah,
That's-
dude. All
The
I'm
cod
saying
piece
is,
really does just make you feel like you're making an entrance even before you've made an entrance.
I'm just saying, you gotta watch it because as we continue talking, we're gonna talk about weapon etiquette, dude. You gotta get that thing piece knotted. Seriously.
I know. Weapon etiquette indeed. Just hold it, just tuck it into the waistband. You know?
Yeah. So I do appreciate you guys joining us because this is an area that, especially I don't have any expertise in. For God's sakes, man, I'm a traveler from the East, so I dress differently than you guys. But when we are talking with our audience, some of these fine folks, they want to portray somebody that is from Europe, from the West. And where would you guys recommend that they start doing their research for costuming?
I think a big part of it depends on the era. Because I know Colorado, you guys portray the more early Tudor time period.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas my Ren Fair in Arizona, we portray late Elizabethan era. So that in of itself depends. But there are, if you want to follow a pattern, Margot Anderson, Reconstructing History, Elizabethan.org, which sounds Elizabethan, but it also covers Tudor. Those are all great places that have sources and portraits linked to what they are talking about
Okay.
and tell you in great detail what we are talking about, what we are creating, how to go about creating it yourself. It's wonderful knowledge that you know is source and accurate compared to just Googling it, is my personal take on it.
Better imagery. I mean, where you caught my attention was the how to make it.
Yeah.
And
So Margot Anderson is a pattern maker.
okay.
And as somebody who usually drafts my own patterns, but I try to get as historically accurate as possible, I have multiple of her patterns. And the book that comes with it is like, a few inches thick. It's Not just like two pieces of paper like the
Like you're buying one
commercial pattern.
Yeah.
Right.
So what, for people that, may not understand, what is the difference between the Renaissance and what you were talking about,
Late
like
Elizabethan.
like the Elizabethan era, like in terms of costuming, what would be the difference?
So the Tudor is the cod pieces, which I know Matthew loves. They phase out, thank God, when Elizabeth becomes queen, because not popular with a female monarch. That's a very distinguishable
I
set.
think that was envy.
It was
like
not.
100%. Like Elizabeth would wear a codpiece, but
I think she could pull it off.
she probably could though.
Yeah, no.
Remember that thing about us getting fired?
Yeah, we're totally fired.
100%.
No. But on the plus side, where we see the codpiece dwindle down to nothing, we see the bum roll, which is the piece that the ladies wear around their hips to push the skirts out. Over time, we have a small one in the late Tudor time period, to be specific. It just gets bigger to the size of like a baby boppy in the late Elizabethan era, to where it's a shelf where you can put things. So we see that drastic change of these skirts going straight out from the hip.
Now,
And
may I
then
ask, for those of you who are struggling to visualize it, it truly was from a slight bump to the point where it's almost like somebody is an inverted teacup, what you would consider the traditional, like, Cinderella ball gown, where it's almost entirely concave.
So something that's, and she had mentioned shelf, so you're talking like something that I could maybe stick a dozen.
Like, you know the...
Yeah, these obviously historically
maybe an
available
ale.
Scotch eggs, yeah.
Yes.
Like the baby boppies, that you'll put around your waist to put your baby on while they nurse.
Oh,
Okay,
I actually
gotcha.
have no idea what you're talking of.
That around the waist.
Gotcha. I will tell you, I do wonder, and this is just a point of pure curiosity here. Elizabeth, over time, became older. She gained a bit of weight. I'm curious if the growth of the sides of the bum roll were somehow linked, because it accentuates what appears to be a small waist. Like, all fashion is both corrective and highlightive. So either you're focusing on something or you're distracting from something else. And as you see these waistlines change, and yes, people who are quite fit also adopted these types of dresses, but you could argue almost entirely it's Elizabeth herself that was leading these fashion revolution, though.
Right. So the bum roll was not to accentuate the small waist. It was to show off your amazing child birthing hip.
Yes, you're
And then-
1 meter across.
Why not just go naked?
Childbirth.
And then, in addition to that, it also, like, the bigger the bum roll, the higher status a
got
woman
it.
was.
Got it. That makes sense.
So
Was
the
this a sumptuary law?
queen... Yeah, so the queen has the biggest one. It's the same thing as hats in the Elizabethan era. The taller they were on the person, the more important the person.
We went
I-
wrong. We went the wrong way. You and I went like wider on the hats.
Yes.
I don't think you can get wider than Matt's hat.
No, actually, we've compared. My hat is actually larger than
It is.
No.
It's
Yes.
a lot lighter, though, I'll tell you.
Absolutely.
It is 100%.
Matt, I love you to death, but your hat is ridiculous.
That was, you know what? There's no greater words. Like I say, when I get ready, I immediately turn to my friends and I'm like, do I look pretentious and unapproachable?
Oh,
And they're like,
absolutely.
yes. And I'm like,
The comical thing is that that's what you're aiming for.
100%.
But everybody walks up to you.
they do!
Yes.
And I don't care if it's down in Santa Fe. Yes, dude. Again, you play Hook. He's a pretentious little, dude.
Yes, and I mean as hell as Hook, and they
the
still come
kids
up
still
to
swarm you.
I don't know why. There's certain garbs that you can wear where the meaner you are to people, the more they love you. For some reason.
Meanwhile, there's me. I'm an unassuming little Asian dude. Don't look very threatening.
You say that, but you hold your sword. You've got these shifty eyes of a spaghetti western protagonist. Yeah,
He does have shifty eyes.
you do.
Shifty eyes.
Yeah.
I like this. This.
And the
Continue.
single hand on the sword definitely adds to the.
The only reason why I have the hand on the
allure.
sword is so I don't smack people when I turn around.
Yes.
We're
Have you
gonna
ever
talk
wondered?
about that
I got
later.
rid of my sword because when I played the Baron Hans von Kalkstein, I actually did carry a full armament with me.
Right.
But I eventually phased that out because this seems counterintuitive.
Okay. So this is great, but I want to go back to what Pandora was talking about.
Oh yes, we've diverted from
When it comes
Elizabethan bomb rolls.
when it comes to women during the time period, both Renaissance and late Elizabethan, was it like verboten that women carry weaponry?
That is a fascinating question.
No.
Ooh.
Really? Oh, okay.
I'm interested.
Go on.
Like, there are accounts that, there were a few women that did like to engage in, sword play recreationally, things like that. And it all comes down to class, right? Peasants, life may suck because you have no money, but you have the ability to do anything you want.
See, this
You are
is
not
a
held
commenter.
by laws. You are not held by the social rules that the court has. Whereas the higher up you go, the less ability you have to do such things. But, Catherine of Aragon, Henry VIII's first wife, okay, she was a feared woman. She actually led his battles against Scotland at one point. She, unfortunately for me, since I'm Scottish, won. But she knew how to fight. Just because they didn't, most women, no, they don't know how to fight.
Right.
Again, with the farthingale being introduced by Catherine of Aragon, and we're getting that bell shape,
For those
wearing a
watching,
sword
perhaps
at your
you can
side is
quickly describe what a
impractical.
farthingale is.
It's a hoop skirt.
Okay.
Just the technical term, like when people think of hoop skirts now, they think of more southern bell style shape. This is very much a conical shape, very small tapers to slightly wider at the waist.
We know them as the thing that harass our female colleagues because those things must be an absolute pain to deal with.
They're awful. Try going to the bathroom in one.
I can't even imagine. I've heard of the geometry of it from our coworkers, and I'm
absolutely.
blown away.
I do. Okay, so
Like I have enough problems going to the bathroom in my costume. I can only imagine what the women cast members go through. Just
now
unreal.
I will
I
say
totally agree with you, Keith. I totally agree with you.
the
like
first,
my heart goes out to them.
the first couple of weekends I wore the robes with the skirt. And I swear to you, and Keith watched this happen a couple of times. I almost ate the dirt because I kept on stepping on the skirt.
He did.
And I so our friend Star, I said, I do apologize for whatever bastard made you guys wear these things because this sucks. So,
I mean, you don't trip over it with the hoop skirt. I will say that. Very rarely have I tripped on my skirt, knock on wood, while wearing a hoop skirt because it pushes the skirts out from where my feet are.
and it does kind of elevate it just a little bit so that it's not
Right.
like dragging. And that I think that's my problem is that because I'm short.
Well, proper hemming is everything.
Yes, but
In fact, I would like to point out that you could tell a lot about a person's inheritance from how their clothes were hemmed.
Oh.
So, for example, let's say that you have this is a custom-made garment for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're a wealthy man. You're the head of your clan, and a lot of this really applies with more Eastern fashion. When you look at the Middle East, when you look at North Africa, and when you look at certain regions of Greece, they still did wear these long, flowing, almost what you would consider like
robes.
yeah, like biblical robes, things that would be cinched and pulled in.
Okay.
If a garment was perfectly cut to you, it would be perfect on you. If you inherited this garment from somebody, it would not be. So you have situations where you'd have second generations of people wearing clothes that were made for their ancestors that still may be beautifully made.
That's going to be my excuse from now on.
Yes, I inherited this from my slightly
Well-
taller father.
Going off of that too, there's a reason that we don't have very many Renaissance and Tudor and Elizabethan fabric swatches still in working condition because it's like, okay, your gown is ruined in one spot. You hand it down to somebody smaller where you can cut that off. Okay, that's no longer wearable. We're going to turn it into, table runners, pillows. Like, they literally would wear the fabric to death.
That's fascinating.
So I do want to go back to my original question about like women and weaponry. So would they wear these weapons in skirts, or were they
No.
they were more like pants and breeches?
Yes. So in general, women they did not wear weapons, right? That was considered a man's world. Same with pants.
All right.
Pants were more
You
considered
can't
a
wear a
man's
sword
world.
anymore, Lord Robert. It's a
Whatever, dude.
It's a man's world. Sorry.
I struggle with. The
What? That
whole
he's a man?
No, Keith is. We've seen his bicep is the size of my head. Like, have you? Jeez. It's the part about if you imagine the types of work that men and women were doing. Like,
Yes.
if we back it all the way up to the peasantry, right?
Yes.
We're talking about peasants' clothes at this point. Why on earth, when the work was so similar, planting fields, tending livestock, arts and crafts of various kinds, all of these tasks were co-gendered. Granted, like plowing would be an exception, but these things greatly favored pants. They greatly favored hosen. They greatly favored slops. They even favored early breeches and even basic trousers, what we would call today.
Right.
And that transition would slowly happen. It happened way faster in Germany, I would say. In fact, Pandora and I were speaking at length about this on the drive over here. You see that in Germany, rather than these long tunics that would be worn with like jerkins, so your underclothes would literally be just a long shirt. The Germans vastly favored leather pants of all kinds. And these pants,
Lederhosen.
yes, the famous lederhosen, and they would always be dyed to match the main fabric colors if you had the money to do so. Even upper lower class people could afford these gorgeous outfits. In fact, there's a bunch of really good documentation of it. We were speaking of, I think it was A Portrait of a Man's Life, I believe was the title. And again, don't quote me on that, but it was a man accounting all the outfits he wore his entire life in Germany. And you get to see these pictures of peasants in their original garb. But it baffles my mind that women who would be doing such similar jobs would not wear similar clothes and instead would wear these longer form dresses.
I
even
think that
then.
goes more to like a political and religious statement than anything else. It's more form over function, if you would. You know, like as Pandora just said, it's it's perceived as a man's position or a man's profession or something that is men's work, and it is typical within most societies that men go off to combat. And this is just we're again speaking of ancient times, not current times. Okay, and I find it the reason why I ask all of these questions regarding this is because again I represent a character that is from the Middle Kingdom, from the East, from Cathay, from China, and Keith and I have spoken at length about my hatred towards Yen Sheng's hatred towards Western pirates. And I only bring this up because one of the greatest pirate lords was a woman who started off as a farmer's daughter, ended up a prostitute, and ended her life as the emperor's navy. She had 1,000 ships, kids.
Grace O'Malley?
No, Grace O'Malley's
No?
a joke. Her name is Zhang Yi. Grace O'Malley was only in it for herself. Zhang Yi was actually she took over the Wokou, and she was trying to keep the trade going. And she ended up taking over the Empire's navy because she had more ships than they did. And she was conscripted or given a privateer's license by the emperor.
And which emperor was this?
This was during the Ming Dynasty. Ming? Yes.
And could you give us a time period range for that?
So time period range there is about 1500 to 1600.
Oh, so exactly our window when
Yes.
we talk about Henrician and Elizabethan Tudor times.
Yes, it's right in that zone, and that's why I ask, because and it's really weird because in the East, men and women both wore skirts and robes. It didn't matter. Sometimes it functioned better, as Keith has pointed out, bro. that first couple of weekends, that breeze felt great.
Oh yeah.
It was wonderful wearing those skirts. Until I almost ate the dirt, and then I was thankful for the pants. And the pants weren't that bad either. But, costuming is something that I struggled with when I came on. I literally, if you would have seen my pictures from last year, I had miles of difference.
The character choice that you made has such a wide variety of looks that you could go
Oh
for,
yeah,
too.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely. I'm actually crafting some leather bracers that are patterned after the Japanese style and this is why I did pick the Woku reference, because it means little pirate in Japanese. The Woku is comprised of Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, and later in the 1600s, Portuguese. So I get to pick and choose what I wear. And I can say, hey, look. Now, the one thing that won't change, the hat. The hat will always stay because, well, the hat's badass.
Yeah, and it gives you, quite a amount. One, like we were talking about before, I think the hat is the one thing.
It's the defining.
That people notice first of all.
Yep.
Is the hat.
Right.
And then, but your hat is so functional in not only that people spot you, but just the shade.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it keeps you cool rather than the, leather hat that I wear.
Your hat's better for the parapet, though, because mine catches wind. Matt
Yes.
knows what I'm talking about. I almost choked myself that one day. I caught a breeze and my head went back like this, and he was like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Dude, I almost lost my head."
So now you guys were talking about the different classes of clothing.
Yes.
So what would be the difference between, let's say, the fabric that Prince Otto would wear and, let's say, the fabric that a butcher would wear? Like, what are the differences? Obviously, we know that you have more style and there's going to be more basic, but what would your clothing be made of compared to theirs?
Oh, this is definitely a question for Pandora. She knows this back to front to
I
back.
I don't even know why we have Matt here.
Yeah, I'm just here for emotional support. Like, you guys are doing great.
All right, so we're going to edit Matt out of all of this.
That'll be good. It's like a big black
It's funny
square
because
right here.
every time he hits the desk, it makes a sound and you disappear.
He's my emotional support prince currently.
Here to help.
Correct.
I get a little vest that says Service Prince,
That
and I
is
get
fantastic.
refused entry at certain venues for
All
some
right,
reason.
Pandora,
Yeah.
you have no idea how far that is going to go now.
100%.
I have been called his emotional support princess, so it's only fair I turn the tables on him.
Very fair.
But we're going to take this one step further. I'm going to go ahead and make you a collar for him. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah. Oh, the memes are coming. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm 100%.
I'm legit.
If you have fan art, please submit it. I will laugh at it.
Yes.
Please
Yes,
send it.
we
As,
will.
as a matter of fact, you can send your submissions to renaissancerascals@gmail.com.
Absolutely.
And you might show up in the stream at some point. So, back to the fabrics.
Right. So the big thing that we compare from just taking modern day fabrics to back then fabrics, they were all natural. So there was none of this, polyester and anything like that in the fabrics that we had back then. So we want breathable fabrics, natural. And then the tighter the weave was more high class. But even if you compare today's silk taffeta, because all of my gowns are made out of silk, it's considered very wealthy, very expensive to make, came from a long ways away, very hard to get. But the weave we have today on silk taffeta versus the weave back then, very different. It would have been looser back then and more breathable than what we have today. Like, because we have advanced so far in technology, even using the same fabric, it works completely different. But we look at things like cotton and linen, great things to have against your body because it helps regulate your temperature. So any class, I don't care if it was peasant, merchant, or middle class, depending on what you want to call it, upper class, they all had that linen for more upper class, cotton, muslin against your body. And then we worked out from there. The lower class would have still had maybe, they would have had colored cottons or colored linen, colored muslin on the outside. That would have been your garment, mostly for the lady. For the gentlemen, they would have worn, some of them would wear leather jerkins or doublets. And then we go up into the middle class where they might have had, lower class silks. If you were perhaps a really wealthy merchant father, things like that, with his daughters, like Shakespeare, Kate Minola, she was a wealthy merchant's daughter. They wore silks. They just weren't nobility style silk. Things like that. And then if we go up into nobilities, they were wearing fur, they were wearing brocades and jacquards, which nowadays a lot of our brocades and pattern fabric like that is stamped on. It is things like that, whereas back then it was all woven in. That is a very good way. If you are going to the store looking for fabric, flip it over. If you see the pattern on the other side, it's woven. Great pick if you're going for more of that historical look and feel to it.
You're talking like upholstery fabric almost.
Kind of. I try to steer away from those because if you have 8 yards of that for your skirt around your hips, that is very heavy. I try to go for lighter fabrics if I can.
Okay.
But you see silks and upper class, heavily decorated with pearls, things like that. And then they accentuate those fabrics further if you're going for upper class or even high merchant class with embroidery, what we call black work.
Okay.
That's another way to accentuate your fabric while still using simple fabrics, if that makes sense. Because you can go buy linen, you can go buy, fabric, cotton, anything like that from Joann's, and it's dirt cheap. It's very cheap, and you just accentuate it by adding things on, depending on what class you are playing.
So let's talk about it. You were talking about they build on that. Is there like a typical, if I'm a commoner, is there like I'm probably only going to have like 2 or 3 layers? Is that like as a rule of thumb?
Right.
I would actually disagree with that.
Really?
One thing that we can also look at is when you're looking at what we call class. This isn't a nebulous concept. This was literally codified in law. These were called sumptuary laws or laws of clothing. Mm-hmm. So you had these brackets, you had these specific things that you could and could not wear.
So back up. Sumptuary law.
Sumptuary law.
What does that mean?
These are laws governing how you are able to dress and present yourself. There are certain materials
Is this let's go down this rabbit hole just really quickly. Is this something that was like, it was codified law, and what we're talking about is like, if I, as Yen Shang, a low commoner, were to wear, I don't know, purple?
Yeah, it would be a no-no. A lot of these laws, too, are regional.
Okay.
For instance, my knowledge base on this is very heavily toward the imperial, so like the Holy Roman Empire, imperial fashion. You have the Greek-style laws where the Byzantium and the Byzantine emperors would be the only ones who were allowed to wear purple, famously so. And these sumptuary laws changed over the years as well.
Okay.
And the part about it that really jumped out to me is your position was not nebulous back in the day. You did not, like, for instance, let's say Keith here is a peasant. He is a peasant. He's not a person who's like, is that guy a peasant? No, these were positions that you had. There were 3 classes of people. There were the nobility, or those who fight. There are the peasantry, those who plant and grow. And then there was the clergy, those who pray. These were the 3 primary classes, with the highest among all of them being a branch of nobility called the royalty. And the royalty was determined by direct blood relation to a king or the king, or a queen or the queen, correct? Now, in these sumptuary brackets, you were allowed to wear certain things. So we begin to see a great example of this is maritime law.
Okay.
So let's say that we take you and you say you're allowed these sets of fabrics and these are the colors that you're permitted. What if I have enough money that I could buy something well above my station? You can't by law. So the same way that we see like German battle cruisers and ships designed to technically follow the rules, but massively extend the amount of detail and firepower in ships, we see the same thing in clothing. We see people devote well more of their money toward buying really, really thick fabrics of settings. You will see pleats get introduced in some middle class and even clerical outfits. You can see these velvet pleats covered in like black fur on the inside. They're still in their color bracket, they're still in their length and cuts, but they increase certain aspects of it to accentuate their wealth while still not breaking any of those
I
rules.
get what you're saying, and as far as like a patron, or cast member, that would be a way that you could embellish your garb to make yourself stand a little bit better or a little bit taller. I know that Keith and I were talking about the Baron's getting a makeover.
Yes,
Yeah, we're looking
Baron's
at it.
getting an upgrade.
I like the doublet, by the way. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm going to steal it at some point in time, and I'm going to say that it was handed down to me by my uncle.
So he'll yet be wearing another dress.
Pretty much.
Another interesting thing about the sumptuary laws is, let's say you, Rob, or even Matthew, as your characters are visiting English court, even I could apply to this. My ranking in the sumptuary laws there do not apply as princess. Because I am a foreigner, you get bumped down one rank, so I could only wear sumptuary things appropriate to a duke or a duchess while I am there.
That's a good thing they don't know what we wear in the East.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is peasant clothes. Silk.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. Everyone
seriously.
wears silk
So-
where I'm from.
So basically, hearing you describe that, like the different classes, so it reminds me of the saying, "Clothes make the man."
100%.
So depending on, you could easily pick out who's who by what they're wearing.
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
That is a great way to put it.
How does that work though? Because like when I'm creating a character, let's say I'm making a new character, right? I'm gonna audition again for another character, and I'm going to be Wallace Adelborn the first, because I'm smart enough not to go out to battle and die. I am the nephew to Robert Adelborn the third, and
You've already caught on the main thing. You
Yes.
immediately tie yourself to a position
Perfect.
that you are related to. That is a perfect way to start.
Perfect. And that is, and again, our whole podcast is based upon helping people flesh out the rules and build the character and keep developing that character. Much like we're talking about with clothing, Keith is being forced to upgrade his gear.
It was a polite suggestion.
No, that's not a suggestion.
You are a baron.
I mean,
You own a lot.
Yes.
I mean,
But-
that was a polite suggestion, like it was a polite suggestion that I needed to start bowing to everybody.
Yes, exactly.
Because that was totally, like, the first day was an accident. The second day I did it on purpose. And the second day is when I got yelled at.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, you don't have much choice in this.
No, I really don't.
But it does give...
It's exciting, though. It's a
Oh,
cool
absolutely.
opportunity. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I guess if I have to spend some cash on
Well-
myself,
Yes.
it's
The other
for
thing-
work.
The other thing is that based off of what we were just talking about, literally doesn't have to. Just add some pleats. Do something to embellish
Beat it.
what you
Beating
have.
it. Beating it's a great way.
Whoa.
Adding trim.
Hold on.
pose, right?
I just, dude, you guys realize you're telling Keith that you don't realize.
Oh,
what you just said, right?
B-E-A-D.
Oh, bead.
Beat
Bead.
it. Yes.
Bead it.
I'm now going to go out and get a bedazzler,
Yeah.
and I'm going to bedazzle.
I'm gonna throw this out there. Rhinestones on my robes.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Just like
Yeah,
Just remember, rounded rhinestones.
he's a rhinestone
why,
woke.
why round?
The technology for faceting,
Okay.
very expensive.
Okay.
So rounding, you just tumble certain geodes with other abrasives. and you
Oh,
can-
okay. I
so
see what you're saying.
up to a point. I
Cutting
mean,
gems
that was
in the
later.
West was a little hard. You know,
Yeah,
more advanced than
it
the East.
was. In fact, if you look at the crown jewels, great way to see
Yeah.
a lot of the time rounded gemstones.
Yes. Yes. So, and that kind of, I like to tie this all together, and let's talk weapons now, okay? Because I like violence.
The one thing I'm good at.
What, violence?
All right, Pandora, this is my turn.
Right?
Tag me
Your
in.
turn.
Tag me in. Tag me in.
I do have to say that
You're it.
I know that there are specific ways to wear certain weapons while traveling in a village, attending court, or just warfare. I mean, warfare, it's kind of like anything goes, right?
Yes.
Okay. So walk me through the differences.
Okay. I'm going to give you guys a historical example, and then we can tie it back to costuming at specific
Yes.
fairs or
Absolutely.
for different events. Historically, weapons were very rare. We're talking.
Really?
I want you to think like German firearms rare. When you were actively called to service, you would have a weapon.
Okay.
If we're talking about specifically Tudor English times, you would often make your weapon. That's why a lot of the time you see blacksmiths make these primitive sort of... The best example I can give is the quintessential weapon of any person who doesn't have a weapon is a spear. Spear is something anybody can make.
Yes.
The materials are available.
Yes.
Granted, woodland and wood in general did not operate the way that we think of it now. All woodland was managed woodlands. You would grow the wood that you would use for the rest of your life in your own private plots.
Oh,
You
cool.
would, the fence post or wattle and daub fences, you would grow each and every piece of that and have it prepped for years in advance. So all woodland was managed back in the day,
Okay.
not like American woodlands. So you would be issued the right to cut a spear. You could take any farming utensil or a piece of steel that you have and have that fashioned into many different weapons. Like bill hooks were quite famous. Those are these jagged, almost, think halberd style.
Yeah.
So when you're talking 99% of peasantry, spear or primitive bill hook. We don't see swords really proliferate for quite some time. Axes were fairly common, but axes were far more common a couple hundred years ago.
Right.
That doesn't mean you don't have your great-grandfather's axe.
Yeah, but that's not just a weapon. That's a tool.
Exactly.
You know.
And that's a bit of the risk involved with going to war at the time. You're going to see like the leader of a household going to war carrying the tools that his family would have needed to survive at home.
Right.
So oftentimes you see baggage trains where you see the children and the women of a specific family go with the primary fighter because they can't really work without the primary breadwinner, the people he knew. Because in feudalism, it wasn't you were signing up to join the military, similar to like the Fa Mulan, one member of this family. No, that didn't happen.
Right.
It was the Lord would be tasked to bring a certain number of people. So if I had brothers or other family members, they would come too.
You were responsible for 500 head.
Exactly.
And you brought 500 head, whether or not they knew how to fight. And you
Very
had to
informal
outfit
too.
them.
It would be just who you have, bring them.
Right.
And so these armies had vastly different types of weapons. So if we back up to outside of times of war, most people were not armed.
Okay.
You would have a dagger, but a dagger was considered cutlery mainly at the time.
Oh.
This is to eat with.
So
This
this-
is
your-
my basic work tool.
Your new costume is right on point, sir.
Yes, 'cause
Daggers
I'm
very common.
getting rid of the sword and just carrying a dagger.
Well, I mean,
true.
you don't need the sword. I've got your back. So.
Exactly, that's why
100%.
I'm not lugging it around.
And generally speaking, you even see in portraiture, if you look at the famous portrait of King Henry VIII, what does he have on his hip? Is it a gigantic sword? No, it's his dagger. The dagger became an artistic piece that people would carry along.
Okay, I got you.
So when it comes to weapon etiquette, since weapons were intrinsically rare, having a weapon was making a statement.
Right.
Like if I'm walking around town with a sword on my hip, I'm saying, number one, I am either available to be hired, I am performing a duty as a guard, or...
You're up to no good.
Exactly. So this weapon etiquette that
All
we
three
see...
of those apply to me.
Yes.
Very true, actually. That's suspicious. Another part of weapon etiquette is when you look at a situation involving two people getting in a scuffle, minor. When a weapon is drawn, that is an escalation far and beyond the normal scopes of things.
Sure.
So people who carried weapons, brandishing one was a big deal.
Right.
And if we back up to my area of expertise, which is the Germanic areas, it became a point where sword fighting in general was considered almost an art form, to the which certain motions and actions with swords were regulated.
Oh.
Did you know that stabbing was considered illegal? You could cut somebody with a sword, but you could not stab them. Because stabbing is for peasants. This is what soldiers in a big line did. They stab.
No, actually, that
so
makes
cutting,
a lot of sense.
Yes, it was considered a form of arms control. So
Yeah.
if you were killed by stabbing, even in a fair duel, that's illegal.
So Keith and I will be stabbing a lot.
Yes, and this idea of such strict controls on weaponry is fascinating. So that's why I love, if we back up to costuming, you get these opportunities for every single person who wants to wear a weapon to be an important person.
Yeah.
Like, these are people who matter. They're either people who are dictating the pace of the environment that they're in, they are employed, they are on the prowl for something, and these weapons were considered like... There's almost no equivalent. It's the equivalent of, like, the nicest car that you've ever owned, pulling up to somewhere, and at the same time just having access to this level of technology that you don't see most people
It's
have.
funny that you say that, because it's like, taking all of this in. We were talking about earlier how Keith's iteration of the pirate, he had 3 flintlock pistols, a blunderbuss, a saber, and a dagger. And so I always make the fun,
That's a lifted truck right there.
It's a lifted Ferrari.
It's like, do I need all of these? You don't know.
It's a lifted Ferrari.
It's a lifted Ferrari.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Completely unnecessary.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, and this is the comical thing, because
I'll tell you, when it comes to the nobility and royalty, completely different though. So we should return to that. But continue.
No, I mean, my thought process is, and again, this is, I portray a traveling Chinese merchant who's a pirate
Merchant.
in the East. No, I'm legit in the West. As a matter of fact, I'm a privateer. Thank you very much.
You have your pretty little signature from the king and everything.
We're waiting on the paperwork.
We gotta get that.
We gotta get that to happen.
King.
Yes,
You point with your knife.
You
Certified.
You, sir. We need to draft the that.
We got to make him official.
But I make fun of Western pirates because they're an anachronism.
Ridiculous.
The golden age of piracy was the 16, 17, and 1800s. If that. It's really actually only spans 80 years. So I make fun of them because it's 100%. We are bristling with weapons because we have to, like, dude, if you ever fall over with all that crap on you, you're going to die. Like, I really, really want you to try to save any of that. And as somebody who lives on the seas, you have very few belongings. Your weapons that go under, that go into the deep, well, you just lost months of wages. As we were saying, like a nice car. Well, I just dropped the Mustang off the side there. What are we gonna do? I don't know. Who's we? What are you gonna do, sir? So I carry minimal weaponry. I have a sword, and I have Uncle Wang's pistol that has yet to be fired, and it won't be because you don't never give somebody something that's used. So it's there as a showpiece. I think that it's funny because it's the way that we carry things, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Why do I always have my hand on the pommel of my sword? Because I don't want to smack somebody's kid with it when I turn. And I know that I think you and I were talking about this before, because you would ask me about it, like why I don't carry it on my back or something, because I think I might have clipped you with it at one point during season at Colorado. In the Western court, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. In the Western court, it usually runs parallel with the leg. If you were in court, if you were to carry a sword in court,
it can.
Okay.
It's very dependent upon the style. Like, for instance, our dear friend John, who plays our Duke, wears a traditional sword on his side. It's more of an ornamental piece, but it does hang at about a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, much like that one right there.
If you're talking about like a Scottish basket hilt,
yes,
those hang at about a 30-degree angle. So these things do extend your body, and a lot of that, when we talked about the farthingale, there is a male equivalent, and that is the sword. So your personal space, the area that you need to function properly, is dependent upon the weapons that you're carrying. A woman in a larger dress needs more space. A man with a long sword does too. And that's something that, as a a first-time costume where it really struck me is like you turn once, you're hitting somebody. You have to be so much more mindful of your motions.
Absolutely right. There is one point, and should I tell this story to you?
Well, it's so funny you said that because the years previous when I was the pirate, and I carried a cutlass. It was far shorter than this year when I upgraded to a rapier, and I found myself not only hitting other people but like tripping myself because mine hung at a 45, and it would get in between my legs and I'd trip, and I'm like, I hate this thing. So it wasn't functional at all. I'm like, this is dumb. Why am I even carrying this thing? You know, it looks super cool.
It is
like
magnificent.
it looked fantastic.
It is beautiful, but
I was like, I'm done. Halfway through the season, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm done with this.
No, I think your most brilliant statement and one that plays to the and then was this when you looked at me and you said, I asked you, I'm like, oh, where's your sword? You said, why do I need it? I have you and I have him. I have him.
100%.
Uh-huh.
And I said, dude, that makes sense. And that plays to that character growth, the and then.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, you can always look at the casting director and go, well, I have attendance. What about you?
Yeah. In fact, one of my favorite bits that we ever did was, for some reason, children want to fight me constantly.
It's your face, dude.
It's your
It
face.
is. I do have one of those faces. Well, anyway, I had a situation where a child runs up with a sword and wants to fight me. And immediately I turn. I'm like, wait, so you want to actually fight? And the kid's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, you got to give me a moment to defend myself. And immediately I turn to my guards person, Persephone. I'm like, Persephone, defend myself. They just come out, they have a sword, they're fighting for me. I'm like, take that. And that. That's the thing, is that you have attendance.
Yes. No, that's 100% accurate. I mean, why would you try to, like Keith's situation, why would you have to want to carry a sword if you don't have to?
Yeah.
I mean, now we did have a conversation about the cane, though, because it might be a little early. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. Historically, cane fighting became a thing, and I want to say it was not until the 1700s.
I do know it was famous in the 1700s.
Okay.
I don't have
think
any
it was
real useful information.
Yeah, I don't think it was. What I'm saying is, I don't think it was during Renaissance.
Hard to say. I wouldn't know either way.
Yeah, but
Let me put it this way: I have not seen evidence of it, but I am in no way an expert on it.
right. No, I'm not saying that. I mean, this is the great thing. We're not
What do you mean
experts
you're
on
not
anything.
saying-
We're just
You're
eloquently
not saying that I'm
speaking,
an
man.
expert on this niche hobby that I like.
Someone hooked up some
This guy,
microphones and here we are.
Right.
It's crazy.
I mean, I
What's your
figured-
Really, Pandora's the only one here who's any qualifications.
Well, I have qualifications to run the equipment.
That's true. You're helpful. Here we go. Signed document from the king and
That's
everything.
well,
Yeah. No, he doesn't even have that.
He doesn't?
No.
He's not even certified.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Guild of IT
I'm gonna
professional.
actually make that.
Yeah,
I'm
think
gonna
you need to.
handwrite that,
And the king
and
needs
then
to
I'm gonna
sign
have
it.
him sign it.
Yes.
Dude. Now I've
Now
got
that would be a great bit for Morrow, is giving out permits and then checking people's permits.
Oh no. Okay, so I'm gonna because we're tangenting real quick. I'm a great bit. I'm working a bit right now for Pirate Weekend. He's the one that's responsible. That guy right there. He's
Keith.
responsible for the beginning of this
Good luck.
because he pointed out.
do with
Yeah, no, he did. He did.
I may have.
He pointed out that Yen Shang is really willing and able to sell people out to ensure his success.
Absolutely.
It makes sense. I'm
A scoundrel.
I know that. No. I'm not a scoundrel. I am still an honorable man.
Selling people out as an honorable
If
man.
they are criminals in your society, then how is it that I am dishonorable?
I don't know. This feels like a trick.
It's not.
All right. It's like when you get asked a question by
It's
your
not.
significant
I mean,
other, and
so-
you're like,
Right.
"Is this a trick?"
No. It's totally.
Thinking.
It's 100% not, because think about this.
I'm stealing candy.
In the East, Yen Sheng is a pirate by imperial edict. He's a pirate, okay? Because I trade with the West. Now in the West, I'm just a merchant, and this points towards our friend Pandora, a purveyor of fine silks, spices, and
Salt.
salt. The wink.
I picked up on that.
Yeah.
You're having a small stroke.
Yeah, no. Not yet. Still.
Not yet. I know it's
he'll
coming.
Be the first one.
Not now.
He'll go before I do.
Most likely.
You think so?
He's older than me.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I do something really stupid. But so Pirate Weekend, and pay attention, kids. It's gonna get fun. I'm gonna sell out every single person that is dressed as a pirate to our Lord Sheriff.
Go on.
We're going to arrest them and gather them in the wood chips. And I have one particular person that is going to lead a rousing version of Hoist the Colors. It is an excellent opportunity for us to blend the elements of patrons, musicians, cast members, and royalty. The timing is going to be the issue, and I got to figure out the timing. I really don't need nobles, but I got him. So, and as of right now,
And if I'm Captain Hook, I'll be there with you.
well, if he doesn't have to be at, if they don't make him do like jousting thingies.
Oh, they will. Like, yeah, but you can ask for a specific waiver for that time.
Yeah,
slot,
yeah.
too.
Well, in which case we kind of made this. I'm his +1.
Yeah.
I just imagine you just holding on to the Baron's arm, like.
Where I go, he goes.
No,
so.
no, I won't be holding on to him. I will be.
I don't ruin my headcanon.
I will be.
My headcanon says that this is an adorable moment between two sweetie pies, and I'm not going to let you ruin it.
I am trying to
I
get
appreciate
him
that, man.
married.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, I got
I am
you.
trying to get
I
him
got you.
married. I tried to marry him to Lucinda, which somehow ended up.
She's a minx.
Well,
She wins the dating game like every day.
I know, right?
It's crazy.
How'd that happen?
We ended up marrying her off to a monk. It was funny.
Yeah.
She got married to a monk?
She got married to
Would
a
they
monk.
have a karmically neutral child?
That-
Like,
see, I
just like
said
a
the
little
same
Buddhist
thing.
priest who's just like,
I said the same exact thing.
As long as she doesn't eat the child.
That's no.
at least it's homegrown.
This is true. Organic.
Organic indeed, yeah. Poor
Poor
Pandora.
Look
Poor
on
Pandora
Pandora's
is
face is great.
horrified. Look, it had a great first year. Let
Look,
me
kid,
tell
you
you.
had a good run,
It's like veal.
right?
We've all read A Modest Proposal.
But
This
no,
is not new
that's
territory.
that is one of the bits that the and then
Yeah.
the stuff that Keith and I did last year, we're trying to make it better, and that's kind of why we're doing the whole podcast, is so that we can help people, but at the same time we're helping ourselves, and we're discovering great new ways to be goofy, and why not embrace that silliness and have fun?
100%.
Although now I'm going to have to steal your line. Every morning when I wake up, I'm going to be, do I look ridiculous? Because that's beautiful.
If I'm ever not there, the answer is yes.
Yes.
I got you.
Keith, you
However-
always got me.
If you ever wonder where he's at, you can find him at our unofficial sponsor location, which is the Queen's Pantry, the makers of the
The decadent Scotch
decadent
eggs.
Scotch
Yes,
eggs.
yes. The Scotch eggs that very easily could be historically made, Pandora.
Yes.
They're
I,
not.
What do you mean? It's 3 ingredients.
Wait, hold up.
I'm gonna have to side. This pains me to say this, Pandora, but I have to side with Matt on this one.
It's.
I mean, did
it's
they
not
have-
a lost technology.
Did they have eggs in this time frame?
Fun fact, sort of.
It's sort of.
You're not helping. our
Eggs
case.
were
It's
not.
like
Eggs weren't produced continuously like they are today. There are seasons where eggs are laid,
okay.
and then you would preserve them
Okay.
throughout the rest
but,
of the year.
But the bottom line is,
yes,
They
they had
had
all
eggs.
that. They had
eggs.
pork,
Okay.
eggs,
so
and
did
bread.
Scotland have eggs?
the Scotland. Yeah, but the
Did-
thing
No,
is,
no.
they no
Did Scotland have
no.
eggs? That's the
Yeah,
question.
a little bit of
Stick to the
chatterbox
answer.
They
over
were
there.
used in baking bread
No,
and
no, we're not
making
there
more
yet. You're
substantial things.
jumping to the punchline. You got to slow down,
All
kid.
right, all right.
Did they have pork?
I would assume so. Yes,
There you go.
Did
That's true.
they have breading?
probably.
Okay. Did they have the capability of heating grease or animal fat to fry
Sort of.
something? in?
We may call it cooking of some kind.
Cooking.
Yeah,
I believe.
this is.
Just
It will
cooking.
catch on. Cooking.
So your arguments,
Listen,
dear,
my
are completely
my only
erroneous.
defense is the first recorded mention of a Scotch egg is the early 1800s is when it was invented. I'm not saying that people weren't doing it before then.
Yes, like
but
the
you
same way
can't
somebody
call it
invented a sandwich.
Scotch egg.
Yes.
It's the same that the same.
Nobody even occurred to put these things together
Right.
until now.
Right, exactly.
Quick, patent this.
Oh, I can guarantee you, dude. Hey, we're going on a journey. We need something that we can have for breakfast. I don't want to sit down and make a full breakfast. Here, we're gonna freeze these. We're just gonna put these and pack these in some preservatives, and then tomorrow morning we'll wake up, we'll fry them over the fire. How's that sound?
I'm with. I just refuse to
look on her
believe
face
that
is
no one
great,
that this
dude.
never occurred to anybody.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe it. It could have happened accidentally.
The look of disgust that she just gave us was great.
Oh yeah.
Well, but the thing is if you think about what they actually ate back then, it's considered poorer
It's pretty much
ingredients.
porridge.
Yeah.
It was porridge
Well,
for
it's-
a lot of.
Oh no, absolutely. Like the culinary arts was not really a thing back then.
They had access to meat. Oh, Pandora, please.
The ingredients are considered like poor ingredients, right? The peasantry would not have ability to make stuff like this. They would be eating like stale bread, jerky, things like that. Whereas the nobility, on the other hand, is getting peacock and decadent things that spend all day to make. Not a Scotch egg. I'm sorry. I just don't see it happening.
We're not letting this go. Go ahead.
No, I have to disagree with you. I believe that speaking on behalf of the larger, gentlemen out there, that we are going to make Scotch eggs because we like eggs, we like pork, we like breaded, and we like fried. So
And I'm gonna go back on this. You know what she just said? The peasantry couldn't. So
I found a loophole.
So that
Nerds!
And no, I also said the nobility wouldn't.
So that means the merchant class would.
There's a sweet spot. There's a sweet spot. Technically possible.
We are technically correct, which is the best correct that you could possibly be.
absolutely.
Just like
I'm gonna send you all through the historical.
we're gonna read it by the time we have like bags under our eyes. We're like, she was right.
She was right.
It never happened.
No, the beauty
I don't
of
know why I
this,
would think that 8 people were put to death for attempting to wrap one, and then
the beauty of
Never
this
happened.
is that we started off talking about dresses and butt shelves, and it became a very spirited argument about how the Scotch egg was created by the merchant class during the Renaissance period.
The Scotch egg is something that we are very passionate about.
the Scotch egg really is sort of like a person in a way.
It is.
And an outer layer, they may seem hard and rigid,
Yes.
but inside we're mainly pork.
That's very well put, Shrek.
and a very soft center.
It's true.
Yes.
And half of us have eggs inside of us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do yourself while you're ahead.
Wow.
Stop while you're
I
ahead.
rarely do, because I never am.
The great thing is that this is our first episode where we have guests,
Yes.
and I will say even we're testing this out completely. The great thing is we have somebody in studio with us, and then we also have somebody that is joining with us over Discord,
Vastly more
Yes.
talented, too.
which she
I didn't want to be the first one to say.
I'm glad we did.
Okay.
really did. I mean, dude, you hit it out of the park. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, that was
That's-
fantastic. There, a lot of stuff I had no idea.
Yeah,
And,
no.
I mean,
I learned
I can't
much
say
so.
that I put in hours and hours and days upon days of research, but I did do research. But I mean, this is what you guys bring to the table is like
Yep.
mind blown.
completely different part of the world. So
Yeah, for sure.
But it does help me because if I do have a wife and I do have a child that they do want a costume and they want to play with us when we're out there. So knowing the things now, she's already told me she's not wearing a bodice. She's not wearing a corset. She's not wearing the big stupid hoop skirt. So breeches it is, man. It's perfectly fine. It's great. I do think that I like the way that this has gone over, and I think that I look forward to having more guests. I think it's going to be fun.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Checks in the mail probably, right?
Oh, for sure.
Here?
Oh yeah,
of
no,
course.
dude,
I want my 25 cents now!
you forget you're doing this just for mentions and collaborations.
Ah, yeah, clout. Sweet
yes.
clout. I bathe in
It's
it.
for the exposure. I'm
Yeah.
doing it for the
It's
exposure.
for the
It's
exposure.
for the exposure. I love
Pandora's
that.
doing it for the exposure, but nobody can see her.
Yeah.
I do
She
want
has
to
a wonderful speaking voice.
Right.
She really does.
I do want to say that if you guys have any links or businesses that you want to promote, please feel free to do so at this time, because this is kind of us giving back to you guys. Before I do that, though, there is some imagery that has been up there. Our featured artist for this week is Miles Waite and Miles Waite Photography. One of the local Colorado photographers that travels out there. Guy has a really beautiful eye, and if you want to check him out, the links are going to be down below. You can book time with him at for showing or photo shoot at the Colorado Renaissance Fair, or maybe you could talk him into going somewhere cool like Bishop's Castle or something.
Absolutely.
Oh, this is where I say something.
Yeah, this is where you like talk about like do you have any ventures like crafting or making or sewing? Or
I
anything
will
like
tell
that?
you, I am a direct descendant of the maker of Renaissance Regalia.
Okay.
My dear old mum, who makes some absolutely fantastic pieces.
Even
though she
yours
is
specifically, correct?
Yes, very much so.
Except for the hat.
Except for the hat.
Oh,
I
you
love
did
that
that.
hat.
Oh, so
I love
we
that
blamed the hat totally on.
Oh,
you.
if I could make it bigger, I would have, but I didn't have the technical skills yet.
Okay, gotcha.
We're upscaling.
Oh, are we?
There is a timeline. We have a Gantt chart, like it's happening.
All
But
right.
in all honesty, a lot of it comes down to just being willing, and you as an individual, you out there who is going to attempt to do customing, is realize you can do it yourself. It may be frightening, the idea of taking on a new project, but any person can learn these skills. These are skills that our ancestors have had for tens of thousands of years. Give it a shot. Try to make something. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Pandora.
Well, piggybacking off of what Matthew, I love getting to help and teach people make costumes. I can make things for me all day long. I have award-winning costumes, but I can't make for other people, but I can share my knowledge. And it's just looking up things that, bring up some tree laws, right? You can find them from Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, their time periods. You can find those if you want to get deep into it. Purple is allowed to be worn by higher nobility, not just royalty. Throwing that out there. But then there are the wonderful shops that provide you the tools needed, like Margot Anderson. Great for any kind of patterning. I love Renaissance fabrics for trims, getting those fabrics. Silk Baron, wonderful for those things. And I mean, if you're not ready to fully dive in and make your whole costume from undergarments out, I don't blame you. That is a terrifying process and it costs a lot. Start small. Okay, maybe, I'll make my bodice this season. Go to your Ren Fair and buy from the vendors there. Okay, you can get your undershirt from them. And it will give you a great way too, because if you are starting that costuming journey, you can look at it and go, oh, I see how they made this. I understand. Now this pattern that I'm following from Elizabethan.org, say, for smock, because that's what I used my first time, makes so much more sense now that I see how it works. And go up to your cast members that are at fairs. The patrons that look exceptional, if they've made it, I love sharing how I've made my costume. I will gladly lift up my skirts and show you my bloomers and my shift if you want to know how it was made.
So that's, ladies and gentlemen, that's the secret. So if you see somebody who catches your heart, you go up to them and you're like, "Show me how it was made."
Show me
and
your bloomers.
at that point,
Just remember,
true romance.
I've been going about this all wrong.
Me too.
I
I
thought
honestly
there was
thought you
more
had
to it.
emotional connections, similar
sort of,
hobbies.
I was trying to
No,
buy
you just-
flowers. I didn't realize I could just go.
Oh my gosh!
Show me the
Tell me
bloomers.
about your ankles.
no. It's show me how you made it.
Show me
Yeah,
how
show
you made
me-
it. Yes.
How did you make your bloomers? Can
Yes.
I see?
Yes. Can I see?
It's fantastic.
Ooh.
This
yes.
is a new
Look at the
Renaissance
attention to detail.
Ren Fair pickup line.
Pandora, thank you.
I love it.
I feel
Pandora,
well
thank
armed.
you so much.
I think this is the opposite of Kilt Guy.
Yes.
You heard about that guy, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
But we're going to talk about that. We're going to be joined by in a couple of episodes. We're going to be joined by some really dear friends of ours that are going to come in. They're going to talk to us about the do's and don'ts of being a patron.
That, oh man, I'll
It's,
tune
it's
in. That,
very, very important
I love
because
that.
I tell you what, dude, drawing a circle in the wood chips and challenging anybody that walks by to a duel is probably not the smartest thing to do.
That's going to be on the don't.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that.
And especially don't call out the Baron.
Yeah. that was a bad idea.
When he's got his escort with him, especially when his escort's with him. I do want to touch on one last story, or one last bit when it comes to weaponry. Folks, if you are going to wear a weapon, and it is, let's just say, an exotic weapon that is not from the West, please make sure that you're wearing it properly. Otherwise, I get to be the guy that yells at you from the parapet.
Yes, and he will do that.
And I will tell you that you are wearing your sword the wrong way. Actually, I'll tell you that you're wearing it upside down.
Yes.
Culture appreciation, not appropriation.
No, and I'm not even going to go that route because I'll tell you what. I was sorely upset, and I'm going to touch on this one really quickly. A couple of family friends of mine, they are Japanese. They do not look Japanese. They came dressed in actual kimono with getas, and they were dressed up to the nines. And they entered in the costume contest. And people in the audience were screaming at them that it was cultural appropriation. Before you make those statements, please, shut up.
No. Know your
Don't.
audience.
Don't make those statements. It's not you're not the societal police. If somebody is offended by it and they're from that culture, they'll say something.
Right. I think I've worn a kimono before.
Yes.
I am very white, mind you. I am like epitome of vampire white.
You cannot tell by your voice. You sound like you're from, like, I don't know, the Bronx.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. So
you give me like
Harlem, you know.
No, I was gonna go for my Turkmenistan.
Oh, Turkmenistan.
You give me Turkmenistan energy.
right. But
Anyway.
so I've worn a kimono before, and I'm appreciating it and wearing it properly.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
Matthew loves to tease me because I do Highland games and I'm very Scottish.
Goodness, the kilt thing. Yes.
My eyes automatically go down to a man's kilt, even a woman's kilt. Not in like a, oh, you're wearing a kilt, nice.
Hey, lady, my
what's under?
eyes are up here.
Like, are you wearing it correctly? If not, I will chase you down in the street.
It's a shark in the water with a blood drop.
Incorrect.
It is. I see the eyes just
Okay.
laser across and fixate.
So-
and I'm like, give me a minute.
Quickly, though, you're talking about, like, the actual way that it's pleated and folded and
Yes.
actually donned.
Just
Not
backwards.
like if you were
It's like the back of the
wearing-
front of your pants.
Yeah,
being the
no,
front.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
Yeah,
like
100%.
the appropriate wear of
But
it,
it's not-
the
Right.
under.
When Pandora does it, it's not to
Yeah.
insult the people. It's just, hey, just so you know, just turn it around.
Right, no,
you
and
get
that's-
it all backwards.
That's what
Yeah.
the conversation with the dude
Yeah.
with the sword was about. You were there.
Just wear it properly. Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
hey, sir, your sword's upside down. I didn't end up being a jerk until he told me, no, it's not. You know what you're talking about. The funny part was his buddy was like, dude, shut up. That guy knows what he's talking about. Look at him. I was wearing the hat, man. I mean, come on, you know. And so
I was born for this.
well, no, I said, here, stay there. I'll be right there. And I went down there and I actually educated the guy. I do like, just like Pandora was saying, I like educating people on the appropriate way that things are supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're here for. Like, yeah, we want to help you and do these things, but as she stated, you know, appreciation. So when somebody tries to push you in the right direction, dude, don't try to fight it, man.
Yeah, so wear a codpiece, all right? Like, if you're out there
I
and you're
can't.
thinking,
It doesn't
should
go with
I
the
not wear a
costume.
codpiece? Correct it. You know, you do what's right.
It doesn't
wear
go
a
with the
codpiece.
costume.
wear one.
How would I
It can
even-
be just for you,
How
just
would I
hidden
even-
on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that
that is, a codpiece truly is the gift that keeps on giving.
I'm going to let you keep that gift.
yeah.
Yes, thank you.
This has been passed down from my family for years. It's like, you could have washed it, Grandpa. No.
No.
The musk of
I don't know
100
what's going on
generations.
here. But like the last week's episode was like, I don't know, an hour and like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We're just rolling, dude. I'm good with it. Like,
Yeah.
I do appreciate you guys for coming on.
No, absolutely.
You know, we will wrap this up. Join us next week. We're going to be talking about knowing your role,
Knowing your role.
because that will help you define what your costuming should be,
Yes.
and it also help you kind of develop your character a little bit more and know who you're supposed to defer to, who you're supposed to bow to, and how you're supposed to show that deference, if you will.
Yeah.
And for the love of God, don't grovel. Ever.
Don't grovel ever.
Ever. But I say this because, I'm a pirate captain, and that's my Baron over there. And we're men of action. So, thanks for tuning in with Renaissance Rascals. I'm Rob.
I'm Keith.
And we've been joined by our friends Matt. Oh, it's like, dude, it was like...
It was Matt Dora.
Pat and Mandora.
Pat Mandora, yeah.
Pat
Like
Mandora.
SEO, that's my
that's
business
the
name.
new ship name.
Yeah. Bring the Pat Mandora around,
Ooh,
port.
it does sound like a curse, doesn't it?
It
Pat
does.
Mandora. We do appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure that you, if you have any questions, drop them down on the comments below. You can email us at renaissancerascals@gmail.com. If you have any questions for Matt or Pandora, you can also drop them there or drop them down in the comments below. If you need any help, any guidance on trying to find stuff, dude, I'm telling you, the knowledge is out there. Just reach out to us. Thanks for joining us. We'll see
Thank
you
you
guys
guys.
next time, right?
Goodbye, friends.
Hi, friends.
Bye.